Hi, welcome to the next episode, the next full episode of the Mental Health and Wellbeing in COVID-19. This is my wife, Debbie. I'm sure you remember her from the previous episode, the couch study. I hear you had a little bit of a sharer's remorse.
I did. I watched it after we filmed it and I thought, oh, strong.
You thought,
good.
He's not that bad.
And then, I'll speak for myself, not very much. And then, the next morning I woke up and I thought, shouldn't do it. And
it's fine.
And there were lots of things I wish I'd said that I hadn't said. Jokes. Good things that I wanted to have added that, and I felt, yeah. But anyway.
The reason we have Debbie here today is because we are going to be doing a debrief of that conversation in this episode today with the clinical psychologist Robin Scott, who specializes in essentially marriage counseling and couples counseling. Very long, well, not very long, but very, very active career in this space, in this field. His passion is relationships and people. And he's an old friend of ours at Mygrow, connection of ours from years gone by. And he's actually one of the psychologists we often refer people to throughout, if people in their Mygrow journey need some extra help, we'll refer them to Robin. So he's agreed to jump on a call with us to unpack our couch study. And to just give some practical advice and tips, and I don't know, let's see what he says. But we're going to get him on the call now, and very vulnerably allowing him to take our couch study and give us some feedback on it. So I hope it's going to be relevant and applicable to you as well. Let's get him on. So Robin, thank you so much for being here with us, and let's see where this conversation goes. We're very keen to get your perspective on that little interaction, that couch conversation, the couch study, as we call it, to get your input on what it is you're seeing as a clinical psychologist with a lot of experience helping couples and helping families deal with all this kind of stuff. So I don't know what to do other than to just throw the ball to you and say, what did you make of our conversation?
How much trouble are we in?
I just want to say that I really loved the clip, right? There's just so much about it that is just relatable to so many people, I'm sure, even if their specifics are really different. And and I think as someone who's done a lot of couples therapy, I've probably done therapy with a few hundred couples now as I sit here today. Like it's such a common. The themes are so common in the stuff that you're speaking about, and a lot of that is so normal. And I think even more than the content, I think a lot of people are probably going to be relating to some of the positions you were taking as you were speaking. And I think that's almost what I was hearing and listening to in terms of like, do you see this? No, but do you see this? And I noticed a little bit of that, right? And I think that's really normal. So just to say that to you guys, don't panic just yet. I've got a lot of hope for you. And just to say that those that position where it feels like we should be speaking about something that is quite straightforward, or we should be able to resolve this thing, but why are we getting stuck? And are you still hearing me? Like that kind of dynamic is really normal, right? And
can we just pause there? I'd love to actually dive into that a little bit, because when you're in that position, you don't have the benefit of 20/20 vision. You don't have the benefit of being able to stand outside of yourself necessarily, unless you've learned how to do that, to stand outside and see that you are taking a certain position. So you've had the third party view to be able to look in and see that. Would you mind unpacking that for us? Maybe that idea, not just for us, but for others, that we take on a position in a conversation, and what can you help us with around that?
Yeah, so and I think it's really helpful that we've got your discussion to draw on, right? Because it's a good case study. And there were just a few moments that I really appreciated as kind of just giving a good demonstration of that. And so there were these moments where where Debbie, you were kind of saying, do you see this? Do you see this? So you're like Theran, you're I'm just getting to my notes to get your words right. But for example, like there was this example of Theran, you see or you respond to things in the moment, but you're not seeing, for example, that behind what I'm doing in terms of the homeschooling, I'm able to order the ink and do all of this stuff, right? So, I mean, that was one of the examples you brought up. And then he kind of responds to that with, do you see what I'm doing? Like, do you see the fact that I'm so stressed? And then you go, but yes, but even though you're stressed, like, you get to focus, right? And so, like, I mean, I'm maybe getting it out of order, but there were these kind of there's almost this moment of trying to like raise the flag of, but do you see how stressed I am, right? And what's interesting as I kind of listen to that conversation, I can see that part of the responses you're giving each other are in some way actually trying to console the other person. Like they're trying to say like put their stress in context almost. But on another level, it's as you're doing that, you're feeling unheard, right? In some way. And I think you even said that at some point, Debbie, I think you might have used the word unheard or unseen. One of those words came out there. And there's that contrast, like, if my boss sees or doesn't see me, that's one thing. But if you, Theran, my husband, don't see me, that activates a whole different thing inside of me. And so underneath the content, underneath that dynamic is this thing of, I really want you to see what I'm going through. And often the other person responds in the content, right? And as they do that, they're either telling you shouldn't be this stressed, or they're also stressed. But as they're doing that, the thing you're not feeling, if you get down to the real basics of a relational moment, the thing you're looking for is empathy, right? It's, hey, you see what I'm going through, you understand that feeling, and something that you would give back to me would show that you care about that, right? And that you want to meet me there, right? And so often a conversation where it's just, but do you see this? But do you see this? It's kind of both sides looking for that empathy and not feeling it as the other person kind of brings another example, right? Is that making sense?
So we're both calling for the same thing.
Yes.
We're both calling for the same need. We're both needing the other one to understand us. While you were talking, it reminded me of that phrase, seek first to understand and then to be understood. But it's almost as if what you're saying is that Debbie and I both keep saying to each other, seek first to understand and then to be understood. And then she's like, yes, but seek first to understand.
Yes.
You know, instead of applying it to ourselves, we're trying to apply it to the other person. Any thoughts from you on that?
I think that's probably one of our biggest issues, is that we're both pushing and we're both on the same team, but we're both like, see me, look, quick,
yes.
look. Like I was saying, it's not about my boss. It's not about, whoever else. It's about, I want to be seen by this person.
Yes.
But we're both sort of jumping up and down in front of each other, like, hello.
Yes.
And then the competition starts. Like I said I think I said in the clip, it's almost like, it's not about what I want to tell my employers or employers in general, even though I know that that's an important part of this. It's more about, like, it's between us. It's this competitiveness between us where we're both trying to prove how tired we are, and it's just we're driving each other crazy because we get how tired the other one is, but we need to tell you how tired we are.
Yes.
Because we're both in it, but we're not empathetic towards each other. We're just trying to lick our own wounds.
Yes.
I must say though, it could have gone a lot worse. I mean, if we hadn't been filming that conversation,
Yes.
I never get to win.
It may have
I feel like they're in such a good conversationalist, or he can craft an argument so well. Often I just end up going like, and it didn't happen in this footage because he was very politely trying to steer us in the right direction and ask the right questions.
Yes.
Because I got messages from the team who saw it saying, wow, that would have escalated if that was me at home. And I'm like, oh, it totally would have if we didn't have a camera on us.
Hey, don't share the secrets too bad.
Yes.
Yeah. Exactly.
So, I mean,
I love that. It seems to me, sorry, Robin, it seems to me that what you're raising here as this initial jumping off point for us to begin on is something that the viewers no doubt will resonate with as well, because it's abstract enough, it's general enough to be a universal thing that so many couples find themselves experiencing. And you no doubt in your counseling have seen, as you say, hundreds of couples now. You've seen that this is a theme. I'd love to know, of course, our situation is just one conversation that we're now treating as a case study. You are still on the front lines right now, doing counseling with people through Zoom calls and whatever. Have you seen the kind of things we've been struggling with in this moment? Are you seeing that mirrored in other people's situations?
I mean, absolutely. In terms of the dynamic, and I can expand a little bit more on that. And I think it's what's happening now is what happens all the time extrapolated, right? So whatever is actually in the relationship is now in an incubator and beginning to grow, right? Because you're literally stuck in this space and there's no escape from it, right? You can get 50 meters from each other, and there's only so many places you can hide, right? So I think it's actually just an escalation of the dynamic that could be there at any point, right? And I'm sure that's...
I think that's very helpful, actually. That's very helpful because it's almost like it's there. I love your incubator idea. The bacteria or the whatever has been there already. The temperature just hasn't been right to make it come up. Or maybe it is an old struggle our viewers have dealt with certain things, but now the pain is there because of other factors which is exacerbating.
Yes. So
there was that instant, sorry, do you remember when the kids wouldn't leave me alone? And then I hid in the bay window. I literally hid. It was the only place I could go. And I closed the curtains. So on the little day bed, and the kids didn't know where I was. And I just hid there. Because I didn't know.
I didn't even know she was.
They didn't know where I was. Nobody. And they looked in the bathrooms. And they
in the laundry
couldn't
basket.
find me where I was. And I was like, don't nobody come near me. Just everybody stay away. I hid.
Yes.
Literally. Because I just wanted to get away from everyone. I just needed to breathe.
And there's this moment that a lot of parents will experience, this moment of joy, especially when you have small kids, where you realize you're so much better at hide and seek than they are, right? You can literally hide for hours and they will not find you. It's amazing. They'll just walk past you.
If I remember correctly, Robin, you have...
I've never done this.
You have kids roughly the same age.
Yes, yeah, but I have, of course, I've never done this, right? So, I mean, yeah, but, I'm a psychologist.
Your clients.
This never happens. Yeah, people I've heard, yeah. So I think one of the things I want to say here, which kind of makes your discussion around work relevant to everyone, whether they're in that situation or not, is one of the principles that I work on as a therapist is that it's never about the content. Right. It's never about what how much time are you spending at work. It's never about how are you raising the kids. It's never about what are you spending the money on. It's never about the whole range of things. Sex. People argue about sex, right? I don't know if I'm allowed to say that on this forum, right? But these are the things that people argue about and they get fixated. How much time are you spending on your cell phone? Like, and what is a reasonable time for someone to spend on it? And people can get you can get out their spreadsheets and at some point you could even win the argument on a factual level, right? But it doesn't settle the thing that's raised underneath because it's never about the content. Actually, the content is always a vehicle for the relationship dynamic. And actually the argument is always about the bond. And like I said, as I was watching you guys speaking about work and parenting and how much time each of you are giving to that, what I was hearing was... underneath that was, please see and understand me. No, please see and understand me, right? And on one side, it's almost like, I'm desperate for help. Please help me, right? I need to know that you're right here next to me. And on the other side, I mean, this is a crude summary, so apologies if I get the nuances wrong, but on the other side, it's I'm giving so much, I don't know what more to give, right? And that's kind of what I was seeing behind each of your sides of that argument. It was like, are you here for me when I need you? Versus, can you see what I'm giving you and that I'm trying my best, right? And actually that's an emotional need that you have from your partner, right? That's hiding underneath the conversation, right?
Yeah, that is very helpful, actually. Never about the content. As you're saying, it's never about this. It sounds like, well, what is it about? What is it about? Get to the punchline.
You see, that's what he would have been like if he'd let loose in the...
How do we address that? How does a couple listening to this, not even a couple, it's probably just one of the people listening to this thinking, I wish my spouse was listening as well. How do we address it? What kind of tips and tools can you give us? What resources are there for us to meet that emotional need, and to maybe shift perspective away from the particulars? It's not about the particular things of this one instance.
May I briefly just say a little bit in answering that question about what I find to be really exciting science of relationships that's behind all of this. Can I go into that?
Please.
If I get too boring, just be like, time out, right? But I mean, there's really, I think the last 30 years in terms of scientific research into relationships and intimate adult relationships and how they work has been so exciting. It's been just a time that we've learned so much. And what we've learned is that adults, sorry, I've got a pest, it's gone. Adult relationships function as attachment relationships, that's what we call them, which is about, and attachment relationships are these fundamental, and then we would even argue like the most fundamental human need that there can be, right? Which is this, you drop someone in a desert and the first thing they start looking for is a coconut to speak to, right? That there's this need in us to develop relationships that are close and to have others that are close and committed to us and where we feel that emotional closeness to them, right? And that's what we mean when we just talk about an attachment relationship. And what we found in research is that attachment relationships are universal and that it's okay to need those, because I think we're in a culture which says, no, you should be okay by yourself, right? But that it's okay to need those, and that people are very bad at switching that need off. As much as we try and be this like really independent culture. And what we found is that those relationships are key in terms of the way we buffer psychological distress from the environment. So that when the environment becomes distressing, one of the primary ways that our brains make sense of that is to look for an ally. And those relationships become a secure base, that's the word that we use. So they become the place from which we operate in the world. So like I can go and take on a battle knowing that somebody is behind me to resource me if I need it. And they become a safe haven. So when the world is exhausting, I can go and I can find a place to just be understood and relax and just feel cared for, right? And that we've mapped that neurologically. It's so, I mean, the research, I could go on for ages, is amazing, but we've even mapped how when people experience pain and they're holding the hand of someone that they're close to, their brain actually processes that pain in a very different way, right? To the effect that it's not felt to the same severity. So there's a massive and exciting research body behind this that says attachment relationships are key in neurological soothing. So the way we soothe our distress in the world. And what happens is when we feel distress, we automatically reach out to the person or the people that are our primary attachments, right? So we automatically look for them. And when we feel like they're not there, our distress amplifies even more. And then we start shifting on to that distress. So we shift our focus off of the environment and we start shifting our focus onto the fact that, hey, where's this relationship gone? Like that becomes our preoccupation. And the way we do that is to either ramp it up and to pursue that connection with everything we can find, or it's to try and detach. So to try and like not be affected by the fact that that attachment is there, right? I don't know if that's too much science, but that's just a...
that's what we've been doing in this whole webinar series, is trying to give this kind of background and understanding. I think it's super helpful.
And you can see that playing out between the two of you, if I can just plug that in there, where where I can straight away see this thing of Debbie, you're saying, hey, you're not there for me. Like, come be there for me. See that I'm in distress, and that you want to, like, as he's not responding to that, you're just kind of getting louder, right? And that's how these arguments escalate, because you're actually going, hello, support system, can you see me? You really, really, really need to see me, right? And you can take on a multiple formats in doing that, and it can become a full frontal attack. But underneath that attack is, I really need you to see me, and I really need you to be here for me, right? And on the other side, I could see you, Theran, kind of going like, whoa, this escalation is becoming a threat. Can't you see how I'm already here for you? Come calm down. Like, and it's almost trying to, like, bring her down, to remove the threats to the relationship, right? So you can see under both of your sides of the argument, there's this thing of wanting to restore the bond in a way, but the way you're doing that is quite different. Does that make sense? I haven't answered your question of what to do, but I'm just making but this making sense links to that, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think, part of the approach we always take at Mygrow is that awareness is actually it is such a great, valuable foundation. So just being aware of some of these ideas and concepts is its own technique, in a sense. It's its own foundation on which to apply some extra techniques. Like, for instance, filming the conversation. That's a great technique to make sure it doesn't.
Yes,
So I want to encourage
you behave really well, yeah.
Very, very well behaved.
Oh man. Okay, Robin, we've got time for one more thought or idea from you.
Yeah.
Anything else that you want to pull out of that chat?
So what I wanted to say when going this is, what do you do? The first thing is to realize that what I'm actually trying to do is restore my bond. So as you're getting really upset about the cell phone usage, or the person not packing the dishwasher, or the fact that they are at work all the time, or the first thing to realize is, this is not about the content, it's about the bond. So how can I tell you that instead of telling you about the content? So going, hey, you're on your phone right now, and actually I'm really needing you. And I can feel myself getting agitated, but it's actually not about your phone usage. It's about the fact that right now I really just need your attention, right? So you're reframing the content into the relationship for yourself. And I'm giving you like the higher grade skill here, but that's where you're going with that, right? It's to see, actually underneath my escalation is probably a vulnerable place linked to the relationship. And how can I start to express that? Because when you can express that vulnerability, if you're in a relationship where there's care, what's most likely is your partner will tune into that. Because they're tuning out of you because they're threatened. When you start escalating, they get threatened and they get defensive. But when they can see like, hey, there's something and I care for that person, I want to move towards that. Right.
Mm-hmm. It reminds me of the I statement or the I message, which is quite a well-established technique of how do you reframe the conversation in a way that it's not you're on your phone too much. To change it, it's actually about what I'm experiencing right now. I feel that you're on your phone too much, or I feel that.
So that's what you just said there. If I can jump in there, is exactly where couples get it wrong, because instead of saying you're an idiot, they go, oh, it's an I statement. I think you're an idiot, which is not. It's no less of an inflammatory like statement, right? So actually, an I statement becomes helpful when it's actually about I'm feeling, and what is the vulnerable relationship feel? I'm feeling alone, right?
Yeah.
I'm struggling to know that you care right now because it feels like you're not there.
And the thing is, of course, the statement is never, I think you're an idiot. It's, I think you're an idiot, and so do all my girlfriends.
Yeah. And I've got this empirical research to like show you. Yeah. I read this article in this magazine that also agrees, yeah. So it's about the key to undoing this kind of cycle is about being able to access vulnerability. I mean, that's a very big word right now in some of the like EQ circles, but it's vulnerability is there's something I'm feeling then if I show it to you, like, it makes me, it's hard for me to show it to you because if you don't get it, it will hurt, right? So the fact that I'm feeling lonely, the fact that I need care, the fact that I'm feeling unattractive, the fact that I'm feeling like you're more interested in other things than me, like the fact that I'm feeling like I'll never be good enough for you, like no matter how much I work, it's just never enough. I still have to give more, like, so the fact that I feel like I can't get your attention, like other things are more important to you right now. Like I'm just drawing some of these themes out of like your argument again, like things that I was hearing like way down there. And those are, and to say that those are normal things that people feel in their relationship. Like that's not necessarily a bad relationship, that those feelings come up for everyone. But if you can start saying things like, sure, it feels like everything else is way more important to you right now and that's hard for me. Or, and I know that might be my insecurity, right? But I need you to know that and help me with that. Or, sure, it's hard right now because I feel like I'm giving so much and I don't have enough resources to give you everything that will actually make you happy right now. Like, those are the vulnerable states that if you can start sharing those things with each other, like, it can turn that around.
It seems, sorry, you'll have to tell me if this is right or wrong, but this idea just sort of came up for me as you were chatting, is that to take your earlier line, it's never about the content. It sort of sparked for me the next thought. It's never about the content, but if we can engage differently around the content, it can help to address some of that underlying.
So what I've found as a therapist is that I don't need to help couples with the content. Like I don't actually need to give them parenting skills. They've got enough books. I don't need to. They usually actually know the solution innately. Like I don't need to give them financial advice or career advice. But if I can help them feel secure with each other and settle the relational needs that are flaring up, when those can settle, a couple can actually talk very creatively about any problem, right? Yeah. Because it's safe. I know we're on the same team. I know you do want to give me attention. I know that you don't want to make me feel bad. Like, we reestablish our alliance, and then when we do that, like, creative solutions to problems just start coming, right?
Yeah. Great. Well, Robin, I think that's pretty much all we have. I think we got off pretty lightly. It's all we have time for today. But thank you so much for taking the time to do your homework beforehand, to watch through that episode, and to make sure that you had something that you could share with us. Really appreciate that. If our viewers are interested in connecting with you, can they just go to robinskottpsychology.co.za, or is there another way?
Yeah.
Is that the way?
That's the best. My website, robinskottpsychology.co.za, and they can find everything they need on there.
Perfect. So that's obviously on the screen right now, and you guys can follow that link or go to that website and have a look. But we're going to sign off. Thank you so much, Robin. Really appreciate you taking the time.
Thanks, Robin.
Thanks, it was a pleasure, and thanks for making me feel normal about my marriage too.
That's our mission, to help everybody feel normal about their marriage. Great. Well, thanks very much. So that was Robin Scott telling us that we're fairly normal.
Which we kind of knew.
We kind of knew. Any final thoughts from you before we sign off?
Do you know what I was thinking, which I didn't say to you, is how often I say to you, look at me. But how often have we had the argument where I want you to look at me,
and then I always say, but you don't look at me.
Well, obviously I'm seeing you and you're not seeing me.
I want you to metaphorically look at me.
No, but I do. I said often, because I feel seen when you're looking at me when we're having a conversation. So give me your like puffy dog eyes.
I'm just trying not to blink. I'm trying
to blink
as big as I can.
Yeah.
No, but also.
But that's a real. When you were saying that made a lot of sense to me. That whole not being seen is how often I need you to actually look at me when you're talking to me, so I know that. And then I'll say to you sometimes, are you looking past me? Like, are your eyes blurring out again?
No, it's just your own subconscious identity and the tags you put on me. The way you see the problem is the problem.
You're not a psychologist, don't you?
Anyway, do you want to tell the viewers you do love me?
I do, guys. And I love my kids. And, I was chatting with a friend and she explained it really well, and she was saying that everything that she's doing at the moment, and also feeling a bit of overwhelm, everything that she is doing at the moment, she loves. She loves her husband, she loves her kids, she loves working, she loves being at home, she loves being a homemaker. It's just all of these things on top of one another, and cranked up is just where, for us and for many families, not everyone, but we're feeling this immense pressure and this immense frustration. And so I think that was really good for me to hear, because it was like, I love my family, I love my kids, I love my job, I love these things. I just can't do them all at the same time. And that's what's making everything feel tainted with frustration and impatience and exhaustion. So, yeah. What thoughts did you have?
So life is good. There's just a lot of goodness all at the same time.
Why doesn't that result in Mauritius?
I'm working so hard so that we can go to Mauritius one day in 2030.
What were your thoughts?
Well, no, my thoughts were, I always feel like, should I look at you? My thoughts
you can look at
my thoughts are
I'll
that,
look at you there.
you know, we live in the particular. We live in the moment, here and now. We live in our own experiences. But if we can get behind those experiences and try and understand some principles or some universals, like Robin was saying, this attachment relationships, that is universal across all humans in all cultures at all times. If we can understand some of the background behind some of these things, and even, he didn't have time to go into it, but even just talking about neurologically what happens, if I understood correctly what he was saying, that when one person is going through something, grieving something, and even just having someone there next to them holding their hand, I don't know if it's the physical touch, I don't know if it is the attachment relationship there, that actually they process that experience neurologically, they process it differently. And I'm sure if you put little whatever things in their head, they would see that. That's obviously how they're getting that research. So I think it's super helpful. For me, the takeaways are actually in the heat of an argument, when there's very much a you, actually both parties are actually wanting to try, maybe not always, but trying to actually get back to that safeness.
It's that beautiful picture that I showed you before of those.
You've been right the whole time.
I have. I know. Why don't you hear this so often?
Because I've been looking, not listening.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
No, but that picture.
This isn't the Theran and Debbie comedy show.
Those, we don't have any fudge. That beautiful image of those people with their backs to each other in those wire frames. Remember, I've shown it to you before, and they're actually trying to reach.
I'm going to be brutally honest and say no.
No, you don't remember.
I'm very sorry.
Probably wasn't looking with his eyes.
Okay. Anyway, you may be going through this alone. You may be dealing with something very similar. Every single time I try to do a sign.
Sorry, you didn't mention your 3 takeaways. You said I had 3 takeaways, or I had takeaways.
I don't think I said 3.
Oh.
And I mentioned
what was your takeaway then?
I talked about the empathy thing and the trying to find each other, and then just being aware of the background, being aware of the universals is helpful, even though the specifics are different.
I didn't hear that last time.
Okay, she wasn't listening.
I wasn't listening.
Okay, anyway, let's try sign off. I'm gonna, in a couple of seconds, I'm gonna start my sign off, and if you can let me finish it,
I will.
Then it'll go smoothly. Okay. You may be going through this alone, by yourself, in a relationship where you are struggling to connect. You may be with others in relationships, maybe not just spousal, where you're struggling to find that attachment relationship and that safety. But let's take to heart what Robin said, that these principles are universal. So even though we are all in this differently, we are all in this together. I will see you in the next episode. Should we end with a kiss?
You should say thank you, Debbie, for joining me on this webinar.
Thank you, Debbie, for joining me on this webinar. I know that your input has been invaluable.
Invaluable.
But seriously, we'll see you in the next episode. Bye.